But yeah, we can do football. Let's do football. Oh my God, last week was insane.
It was.
I will definitely have to say that it was absolutely insane. But it's definitely cool though. Like I'm happy that it's the Bengals and the Bills.
Oh, it's not the Bills.
Not the Bills, but
The Rams.
The Rams.
Yeah.
Like
it's much better. Much better than KC.
Oh God, yes, it's way better than the typical people that we see in there and all that stuff. You do realize I actually saw something on Twitter. There was a thing that showed the only two teams to beat the Rams and the Cincinnati Bengals are the 49ers and the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, it's not it. So 1981 and 1988, the last two times the Bengals were in the Super Bowl, lost both times.
Yep. Both times.
Now the Bengals, it's been the longest drought in a...
Well, it was 82 for the first one, because you have to always put a year onto it, because they wind up playing the year after the actual season.
Yeah, so it's probably the 82 and 89.
Yep.
They lost to the 49ers.
Both times. Both times.
We're happy about that.
Oh God, I would have loved to have seen the Bengals and the 49ers again. Round 3, I would have taken the Niners all day. All day. All day.
I'm actually really surprised about it. It seems like a year of upset. I should say a year. A playoff.
Oh yeah, it was definitely, it's the lowest seeded Super Bowl in Super Bowl era. There's 2 number 4s. There is no 2s, there are no 1s, there are no 3s in this Super Bowl. They are both 4 seeds.
So I got a question for you.
What up?
Matthew Stafford, who obviously was with the Lions for the long period.
Yep.
He's in veteran.
Yep.
And then you got Joe Burrow, I believe, here.
Yes, he's a sophomore. He's in his year 2.
Does the extended amount of playing time for Matthew Stafford at this point is it Rams, or is it entirely based on
who wants it more? Unfortunately, is any given Sunday. Whoever goes in and wants it more that day is gonna win. And Matthew Stafford, he's good with the Rams. He's actually got a line. He's actually got wide receivers, running back, and a defense. So he lucks out. He's got Aaron Donald on the defensive line going up against quarterbacks. Quarterbacks are screwed when they usually see Aaron Donald. He is a beast. He is like a freak of nature. He is just that good of a defensive end. Like, he just destroys. But
just great at a single player.
Oh, 22 guys on the field at one time. Yes, the quarterback, yes, he gets paid more and everything else, and you can make that argument, because look at Tom Brady. What did the Bucs do before Tom Brady? Other than the Super Bowl that they went to back in the 90s? I want to say it was 97, 98? Could be wrong. Yeah, that's why.
Star power that the Bucs, the year that they won, star power.
Oh, that they had was unbelievable.
You had Fournette, you had Kevin, you had Gronk, you had Brady.
Oh yeah.
That entire offensive line and the defensive depth was pretty much your Pro Bowl.
Yeah.
On it.
Oh yeah, but that wasn't the first Super Bowl win. Their first Super Bowl win came way before that, because that was coached by Tony Dungy. Was the coach for the Buccaneers when they won the Super Bowl. That's where he's got his first Super Bowl win.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, but they had the same, almost the exact same team come back this year. Tom Brady was starting to diminish at the end because his line got screwed. That's where Brady fell. Like, how good Tom Brady's line is how far Tom goes. If he has all day to sit back there and pick you apart, he's going to sit back there all day and pick you apart. Like, that's just how good of a quarterback he was. But again, Tom Brady got lucky for most of this stuff. Like, he had at the beginning, he didn't need to be good. He had the defense. He had one of the top ranked defenses in the league for his first like 3 or 4 years. Like when they won,
absolutely.
The Patriots had a stellar defense. He is not the one who won them the Super Bowls. Yes, he gets the ring. He gets the acknowledgement that he was the winning quarterback for the Patriots. But a lot of those Super Bowl wins were not because of Tom Brady. A lot of those wins were because of the defense.
So that goes back to the age-old question that you hear all the time.
Is he better than Joe Montana? Yes and no. No, because I am a Joe Montana fan and I am a 49ers fan. But he is. His works alone. 22 years in the league. It's never going to be it's not going to ever happen again. Not in quarterback.
The closest was Brett Favre.
Yeah, Brett Favre, and I think it was 18 years that Brett Favre did it. But Brett Favre got beaten up, and they had a different style of football. And they weren't as dominant as Bill Belichick and the Patriots, unfortunately.
There's a lot of people saying now that Brady's just going to take a year off, then maybe come back, pull with Michael Jordan, play a couple years, go away, maybe come back again.
I don't see that happening. Just because he's already proven where he's better than anybody else in football. He has nothing else to prove. He really doesn't. And if you just think, if he didn't have that one big giant loss, he probably would have retired after that year.
Yeah, I'm surprised he actually didn't retire after the Super Bowl when.
Yeah, I'm not. Because he wanted to see if he could still do it. Give him money, bring back the same people, try to repeat after the Bucs haven't done anything. To completely shove it wasn't Bill Belichick, it was me into his face. It kind of works, but again, they had a stellar defense too.
So the Bucs now, they go without Tom Brady. Let's say we're still not sure about Gronkowski, but he's at the kind of the limit.
Well, I think Gronkowski's going to retire just right along. He only had a 1-year contract, so he'd have to sign another one, and he only came back for Tom Brady. It's the only reason why he came back. Tom Brady asked him to.
So do they come back again? Are they as good next?
No. Not even close. They might wind up getting Garoppolo.
That would be interesting.
But Garoppolo has been tied to a lot of different teams. Any team that wants him, because we already know that he's getting traded this offseason. He's already, they agree, San Francisco 49ers and him, they're like, yeah, we're going to trade you. We have the number 3 pick from last year, Trey Lance. He's developing good. It's his second year. We're going to make him the starter. And that's what's going to happen.
Well, you have very few QBs left that were in the 2000s. You got Aaron Rodgers.
Well, he might be going to Tennessee.
Which would be great. But then you also have Russell Wilson from Seattle. He may be going depending on.
Well, no, he's a free agent.
Absolutely.
He's a free agent, so he's not even a restricted free agent. He's a free agent. And they can't franchise tag him just because he is a free agent.
So now you're limited with Ben Roethlisberger retiring, Tom Brady returning, with those two pretty much left. Really, nobody else consistently has been in the league as well.
Matt Castle.
But he's not consistently the starter.
No, but he's been around for a very long time. He is definitely one of the best journeymen in the league. Yeah. But
now you're looking at a lot of these.
Oh, yeah, but there's not a good draft class this year for quarterbacks. I think there's like one or two, and those aren't even top of the line draft picks. I do believe it's probably going to be either a running back or a defensive end going first this year. The defense this year is going to be ridiculous.
I'm not sure you even need any support at this point. I mean, besides against the Bucks, if they get Garoppolo, and you have the 49ers or
The Saints.
Okay.
The Saints are still looking to try to figure out their quarterback situation because Taysom Hill got hurt at the beginning of the year, and then he was just a little shaky at times. Once he gets a full offseason, if they actually make him a quarterback, I think he'll be better. But since the fact that he has to spend so much time everywhere else, because he does everything. That man has played every position almost on that offense. Played wide receiver, running back, quarterback. He's big enough to play a tight end because the boy's a big boy. He's on the punt return. He's on the kickoff. He's on the kick return. And he's on the punt. Like, the man is everywhere. He's a great Swiss Army knife. They just need a quarterback that they can use with him. I think it's their best option, but he wants to be a full-time quarterback. That's why
I mean, obviously he's good enough to be in the league as quarterback, but he's ranked pretty low on that list.
Well, that's just because he was sitting behind Drew Brees, and he's viewed right now as a Swiss Army knife because they can literally plug him in. Oh, you got a quarterback? Oh, good. Now we got someone to throw to, someone we can pitch it to, and he can throw the ball. Or he can catch. So it's definitely pretty crazy about how that's all working out. But there's so many. Miami. Tula's gone. I don't know if Tula's going to be sticking around there or if he's going to be getting out. Is the Giants situation any good? Like, how good is that kid? Because he hasn't really performed very well. Because the Giants still suck.
Okay, so ask this question. Trevor Lawrence.
Yep. The kid for Jacksonville.
So number one kid coming out of he was stated to be the guy, the next person, the best QB in the league.
Yeah, but did you see what kind of head coach he had this year?
Absolutely.
Who absolutely bombed out in the NFL and was out of the league, by week 12?
Oh, the adversary that they had to go through.
Is that? Oh, yeah. It's insane.
Yeah, they just didn't have the offensive line. They definitely didn't have the defensive line. So is it fair could he have been successful on a team like Tampa Bay or the Patriots?
Oh, yes, without a doubt. But I think he still can be successful down in Jacksonville. Especially with the coach they picked up. I just saw that. What the fuck? They just signed their new coach. Come on. Open up. Is my phone going to be faster? My phone's going to be faster.
Gotta love Google. Easy way to find out.
Oh, yeah, well, that's...
I've got fans out there that don't know. Doug Peterson.
Eagles coach. Who works really well with the younger quarterbacks, especially mobile quarterbacks, because he had Wentz before Wentz went completely downhill.
Yeah, Wentz isn't coming back, right? He's done.
He's gonna try to come back. I don't see why. He's Mr. Glass. I haven't seen him make it through a full season yet.
there's certain players like that, regrettably.
Oh yeah,
Like McCaffrey the last 2 years.
Yep, he hasn't been able to stay on the field. That's another thing like that I commend Tom Brady for. Like he was definitely an Iron Man. Like not very often did he miss a game because of an injury. Gronk did. Well, yeah. Well, that's because Gronk screwed around. He was having fun. He was a big kid. And he admits it. He's all about having fun.
And so was Cam Newton.
Yep. Cam Newton was good until he started, like... He had that one great year where he was MVP. And then after that, he kind of tanked. I think it all went to his head, and he just forgot how to work out and how to prepare himself. Because I think the year he got MVP, he probably busted his ass. He was probably in the weight room, at video, at practice, at 3-a-days, doing whatever he needed to do to be the best that he could be. And then after he got the MVP, he's like, oh, I don't really need to do this anymore. I've already been the MVP. And I think that's what got into his head. That he was already surpassed that. Oh. You haven't seen much yet. But it's going to be a defensive class this year for the, for the draft. Because there's more defensive players that are higher up on the rankings than there are offensive players. You'll have the randoms here and there, but for the most part, it's going to be offensive line and defensive line. Because that's how you win games.
Absolutely.
Can you...
On about Deshaun Watson.
Deshaun Watson? I'd like to see him play. He's got a lot left in him. But he's got that stigma now on him with everything else. And guys who wind up getting that, for the most part, if you're not already producing or if you're not showing any kind of producing, but also Texans haven't let him go anywhere. They have him on contract. And if they're not going to trade him, all they do is just be like, yep, your contract with us until he's out of contract. And I think it's this year that his contract ends. So he might be back next year. But then somebody's got to pick him up. But there's plenty of teams. Oh, yeah. It's really hard to come back, but that's why you don't leave football and come back. It's very, very hard to leave football for a set number of years and then come back to it. Because the rigors of football, the amount of brutality in it, and the hitting and everything else, it does a number on you. If your body isn't ready for that, you're going to get hurt.
When you have a 21-year-old linebacker,
oh yeah, that's a big ass Mack truck coming at you, and he's got pads on. Yeah, they've got to be that big.
Now, when you get guys, and I understand he was hurt at the time, but just the sheer size of guys like Brock Lesnar, like that could have made it because he could have been validated. Again, he was injured at the time of that time, but still imagine the sheer size.
Oh yeah, well Brock Lesnar doesn't look like Brock Lesnar around football players. Football players look at him and be like, yeah, push.
Exactly, and I can imagine and I understand why a lot of parents out there are like, they're not playing.
Yeah.
Doesn't even have this.
Oh yeah, you're getting hit. You're getting hit. You are literally, oh, we're hitting you safe. You are still getting hit. Take my word for that. 12 years of it. Like, you definitely get beaten up. Like, I have my bumps and my bruises. My knees have been messed up so bad. But that's just the way football is. You gotta take blows and give blows. Like, and if you don't want to get hit, don't play.
Absolutely. There's very few players now that in shorter than 6 months.
Yeah, for the most part, yeah, you're usual. Yeah, well, it's really hard to have somebody like a quarterback at 5'10" trying to throw over linemen that are 6'6".
But I mean, you got guys like Tyreek Hill. They're just so quick.
Oh yeah, well they're wide receivers. Wide receivers, your average size for or not wide receiver, slot back, like a slot receiver. Your average size for a slot receiver is usually smaller than your average size of a wide receiver. Because they're the guys going on the inside. Those are the guys that you are looping out to the outside to beat people. That's speed. And usually, yeah, they got shorter legs, but 9 times out of 10, those short guys, they can run. But they can get into those small spots. They can get underneath the coverage. And that's what they need. But those guys are also ballsier than hell. Those guys don't care.
When you were younger, you used to play football.
Oh, yeah.
So when you were playing football, you're on the field. What kind of mindset do you need? Now, obviously, it's a little bit different when you're a pro and everybody is as good or better than you.
Yeah, I always strove to be the best. Until I pretty much couldn't play because I was smaller than everybody else. So I never really. That's when I knew that I had to hang it up. Like I wasn't getting any bigger. I couldn't put on muscle at the time or anything like that. So I just stayed my 5'8", 150 pounds. That ain't gonna work.
So what's a mindset going in? You're going up against state champions or anything along.
We were state champs. You have to remember. You have to remember. 90% of the football teams I played for, I was a champ. I have many jackets that say town champs. Many. We used to when I first got into b-ball. You have to figure out I was 10, 11, and 12. I was playing b-ball. And for 3 years straight, we were town champs. We literally, every football team I've ever played for, we were good. And when I went up to A squad, same thing. We went to town. We went to the town championship 2 years in a row. We didn't win one of them, but we did win the other one.
Now, do you miss the competitive thing?
Oh, I'm always competitive. No matter what I do, I'm a very competitive person. When I go snowboarding, I'm competitive. I like trying different things. Go water skiing. I drove my wife nuts when I first met my wife and went water skiing for the first time. She's like, "Don't be scared if you can't get outside the wake." I got this. I've never water skied, but I've skied. It can't be that much harder. I'm getting pulled from behind a boat. I start bobbing and weaving in and out of the wake. She got so mad at me that she wouldn't talk to me for the rest of the day that day. She's like, "How did you do that?" I'm athletic. It's probably why I'm still skinny because I'm just not as strong as I used to be. If I worked out every day, I'd still be pretty big.
Yeah, no, I remember it. It was fun. The same type of thing. I played ice hockey for about 15 years.
Yeah.
And my wife wanted to take me skiing, so we went to Vermont to go skiing. First time I had ever gone. Got the rental skis, got the rental boots.
Oh yeah.
We started on the bunny hill. The very first time going down, if you want to stop, you can do
the wedge.
The wedge, thank you. Or what you're supposed to do is kind of
twist your body. Yeah.
I played hockey for 18 years, so I just went down, lying down, no issues. I jumped. I think the next run I'm on the blue
squares. Yep.
Just medium.
Yeah, that's
that hockey that I'm going to go down on a black diamond on the first.
Oh God.
But yeah, when you actually have the balance and the skills to do something, it pisses people off.
Oh yeah.
You're going and you're doing this.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it used to drive people nuts, but that's kind of what I liked. Like, first time I ever got to use snow blades, those short ass skis and everything else. Cause when I was 16, I worked at Mount Sullivan. We actually got to test them when K2 was first coming out with them. We actually got to test their snow blades. They came in. Oh, and it was absolutely a blast. They let the rental department, that's where I was at, use them for like a week. They're like, here, let different people go out at different times, let them use them. So like when we rent them out, you guys can actually tell people how they work and all that stuff. So we would actually have to, like, we got to go use those. It was a lot of fun. I remember pulling off a 720 my first time down on them. It was absolutely crazy. Hit a little jump, you just start twisting and spinning. It's absolutely crazy.
It's amazing the stuff that you can do. And I know we could talk probably for the next show. We'll be talking a lot about the Olympics.
Oh yeah, because once the Olympics, yeah, we don't want to get into that yet because there's not enough happening.
Yeah.
The openings.
Football. And I found it actually really interesting is that the Rams are playing at SoFi Stadium Arena.
But they are visitors.
They are visitors.
Yep, because this year is the AFC's time to be home team.
So I found that fascinating. Like, besides the point toss.
Yep.
Point toss of what really differences are being home and away team.
They actually have to go over to the visitor side locker room. They actually have to change their locker room.
Really?
Yes. They get the visitors' locker room because they go off in different directions. They get the visitors' locker room.
Is that a mental?
It's yeah, pretty much. It winds up being like a mental thing. Even though, like, in real, like, honesty, you can't really have home field advantage because you can never really get all your fans into it. Because the Super Bowl tickets are retardedly expensive. And even with, like, the, like, season ticket holders, they don't have an option to get a Super Bowl ticket if it's at their home field.
Well, even if it wasn't the Super Bowl, as you saw last weekend, was bombarded by 49ers fans.
Oh, it was bombarded by 49ers fans, but it was also like the LA team had their own fans because Beckham, or not Beckham, Stafford actually bought 400 tickets on the inside bowl to give to the Rams fans.
That is.
It cost him like something like $250,000 for all the tickets. But he actually bought tickets for fans. Like, he bought a whole shit ton of them. His wife actually posted something in one of the social media areas that they did it through the foundation.
Well, nothing worse than being in your home stadium and seeing the bowl.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's absolutely it's a mind. It's a mind cluster because you're expecting home field. You got that home field, you got that crowd, but they showed up and they were actually louder than like normal because at least this time they forced the Niners to have to use silent counts. So they were actually loud enough where they weren't using the silent counts, but the Niners were. Because the first time around, week 18, the Rams actually had to do silent counts.
And there's a reason why Seattle has 12 men.
Oh, yeah. Arrowhead is the loudest. They have that one. Nice and ranked.
So loud that you can't hear 4 feet behind you, the QB count.
Oh yeah, well that's why they all do silent counts in those areas, because they know for a fact that they ain't getting any kind of vocal call out. And with wide receivers 20 yards away from the quarterback, they ain't hearing shit. They gotta watch that ball. Even if it wasn't that loud, they usually have to watch that ball.
Absolutely. So what's going to be nice is that even if you don't have the stadium full of Rams fans, I do have to say I would love to go to that tailgating party.
Oh god, it would absolutely be insane. Well, at least you would hope.
It's going to be filled with Rams fans.
It should be. But unfortunately, the LA Rams aren't the LA Dodgers, aren't the LA Lakers. And those two right there trump all other sports teams in that town.
Well, it depends how they do it.
If the Rams win, LA might actually start jumping on that. But if they lose, they're going to be like, well, when you win, we'll like you.
Yeah, there's few sports teams that there is a cult following that will follow you even though you lose. The Dolphins have a cult following in football.
Oh, yeah.
Oakland has a cult following in football.
Yes, they do.
Browns.
Well, they have their fans. They just wear brown paper bags when they're really bad. They wear brown paper bags.
Like that for a while.
They wear brown paper bags. They ain't brown. The Browns and brown paper bag. No, Niners actually have one of the better traveling teams, which is really surprising. But at San Francisco fans, they travel. They will follow the team.
Green Bay as well.
Yep, Green Bay will too. They have no problem with it. But they also have investment into Green Bay. Most of those fans are from Green Bay or have family. Oh yeah.
When a team drops, like you don't before for the last decade and a half or even 2 decades, all you hear, at least being in the Northeast, so
yeah.
Probably more pronounced is
oh God, I hate that. See.
But now you don't hear Patriots too much, just because they're no longer Brady era. So you don't hear a lot about that when they lost.
Yeah, but as most Patriots fans would probably tell you, it was his rookie year. You gotta give him some time.
Mac Jones.
Oh yeah, he's gonna be good. He did more with them in 1 year than the other guy did last year. Whoever they had last year, I don't even remember who they had as their quarterback the year before. Oh no, that was Cam Newton. Never mind. And we saw how well that worked out. He went. What up?
Both Joe Burrow and Matt Stafford.
Yep. It's not the first time 2 number ones have gone up against each other, though. That was a couple years ago when it was who was it? Cam Newton and there was somebody else, whoever he played. They were both number 1 drafts. No. Mahomes wasn't first round pick. It wasn't number 1.
That's right.
He was not.
Yeah, neither was Brady.
Oh, Brady trumped all of them. He was the 199th pick. 199th pick. So 198 people went before him. How many of those 198 are still in playing?
Well, you also got to look at the QB that was playing at the time.
He was doing all right. Drew Bledsoe wasn't great, but he held them in games.
Yeah, Bledsoe was not top 10. Obviously not top 10.
Oh no, he was definitely not top 10. Like he was definitely.
He's definitely up there. He's a household name. There's a lot of QBs out there that aren't household.
Oh god, no. Yeah, like how many quarterbacks can you really name after Steve Young before Colin Kaepernick? Yeah, Jeff Garcia. But he also came right after Steve Young. But I'd be one of the only people who knew that. But I couldn't name any more than that. But I know Jeff Garcia played for them, but there was a couple other ones. Like they went through a whole shit ton of quarterbacks. It's gonna happen.
Yeah, unless you have a consistent. Tony Romo didn't win. I think he won 1 or 2 playoff games.
I think it's 1. It might be 2.
I would say he's a household name.
Oh yeah, but it's Tony Romo. But it's also like Troy Aikman. Like, but every time I hear Troy Aikman, I'm like Batman. I'm Batman, because he looked like he was stoned out of his gourd by the end of every damn game. He looked like he'd been hit way too many times in the head. Way too many.
It kind of reminds me of Dan Marino and Ace Ventura.
Oh, yeah. But, it's so hard to compare quarterbacks, too. Like, you put Joe Montana, make Joe Montana 20 years younger. All right? Imagine what he would have done in the league at 20 years younger. At the same age as, like, Brady. But what he accomplished. You really think Tom Brady would have been Tom Brady, or if it would have been all about Joe?
Well, go the opposite. Do you think if you put Joe Montana in today's game, do you think he'd be as successful?
I think he would. 100%. You're not going to be able to hit him. How many quarterbacks get really hit hard?
Very few anymore.
Very few, because of all the penalties and everything else. You got kind of light-footed. All right? And we'll even give Tom Brady his best wide receiver. I'll give Joe Jerry. All right? You're not going to stop that boy. All right? And he was a beast with the league, as hardcore as it was back in the day. All right? They had touchdowns and he had yards unbelievable. And he had a fight through his coverage. There was no pass interference after 5 yards. You fought for that ball all the way down.
But you got to remember, again, going back to it, that's your average guy is 350 pounds on your offense.
Yeah. But
you're fighting through bodies that, like, there's literally no space.
Oh, yeah. But you have to figure back then, those guys were just as big. Especially the linemen and everything else. And they hit harder. They weren't afraid of hitting you. They weren't afraid of going down, chop blocking you, and everything else, going low as you're coming across. That's why they can't hit wide receivers. If they're blindsided, you get a flag. That's 15 yards tacked on after the catch.
What do you get now if you had today's players back in the 1970s, where literally you have leather helmets?
Oh, they wouldn't make it. Would not make it. Would not make it whatsoever. Those guys back then, they got little to no padding and beating the crap out of each other. Alright, that's why they've been trying to tone down how violent football is. Alright, the violence alone would trump any kind of size you are. Because, again, don't matter how big you are, you're going to get your ass knocked down. You're going to get hit. And guys that are violent, that don't care, that are going to pull you down, rip you down, and everything else, you ain't going to make it. It's a way different world now. Way different. Way different, alright? Like, you used to have guys who would be able to go down the field, like linemen, and drop and chop block 3 guys out of the way, by falling and rolling at them. They can't do that anymore. That's a foul.
So is it worse football in your opinion? Is it worse football?
No, it's exciting. It's definitely interesting. It definitely lets the ball fly. But there's also a lot more passing now than there was back then. It was more ground and pound. The teams that usually win the Super Bowl are more of the old school type of how they dictate what their offense is doing. Like, yeah, they could sit there and they could throw with the best of them, but for the most part, if they're controlling the clock, they are grounding and pounding you. They have running backs that are doing 100 yards plus, and they have a line that controls everything. And the quarterback doesn't need to do much because you're controlling the time. You can beat Brady by not letting Brady on the field. If you don't give Brady time, which we've seen, it doesn't take long. Just like we've seen Mahomes, it doesn't take long. Sometimes it's only 14 seconds. Rarely, but yes, it's happened.
Well, a couple of years ago, the big story, probably about the team, a whole bunch of
Yep.
I think it was Patriots versus
The Patriots-Seahawks game?
I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong on that. But I remember that the offense won. So it is safe to assume that we have a better offensive line and a defensive line. You're likely.
No, whoever has the ball last. Because that was a back and forth kind of thing. And yeah, the offense won the game, but Tom Brady had the ball last with short amount of time to go down the field. They controlled the rest of it.
Okay, topic time. Sorry, that though right there just brought it to me because it's we've seen it this playoffs.
Oh, you're talking about the overtime thing? If your defense can't stop them from going down and scoring, you don't deserve to win.
Well, that's a John Madden. If your defense does its job.
If your defense does its job, guess what? You get the ball.
Playoffs. You're in the playoffs and you're getting whether you win or lose virtually anything. Now, Patrick Mahomes had a split in that drive.
Yeah.
If he played the same way he did majority of the rest of the game this season, KC would be in the Super Bowl. Just because they would have gotten a point first drive. I think, and I'm not.
It's only with a touchdown, though. You have to remember. That's where it comes into.
Here's how it works. How they see teams seem to get touchdowns when they need to in the last 2 minutes. You see more touchdowns in the last 2 minutes than they do the rest of the game. Because obviously
they're under distress. They're going beyond what they typically do. They are going for let's do those trick plays. Let's try to whale it down there and hope for a pass interference call, or we're gonna slow down the clock because it still takes them time to do that. But since they stop the clock, that 2 minutes becomes like 20.
So it annoys me when the game is 7-7, the entire game, and then the last 2 minutes it ends up being like 21-24 because they're going.
Yeah.
Why not do that the entire game?
Because you have to settle down, but it's also that a lot of those changes that you start seeing in the fourth quarter that happen were where coaches making altercations to their playbook at halftime and making adjustments in third quarter. So they are changing slowly throughout the game. They don't stick to one game plan. That's usually what happens.
They find out that they're getting double coverage on the star player, so
they have to go some other way. Or they have to find a way to get that person into an open area. So that's when you start seeing more of like emotion and stuff like that. But I can't even really say that because the Niners use motion 62% of the time. But that's also to help the quarterback read the defense. Because what the defense backs do when the guy goes in motion will dictate whether it's man, cover 2, or cover 3. Just by motion.
Just based on that alone, that's even more reason why they should change the overtime rules. You have the entire game to dictate the other team's weakness.
Yeah, but that then all still comes down to your defense has to stop the other team. Offense scores touchdowns, but you don't win a championship without a defense.
Don't you think they should at least give the opportunity for, instead of saying if they score, that team wins automatically, why not give each team that opportunity? Isn't that more exciting?
No. Not at all. Because then you're going to start doing what college does. Which put them on the 25-yard line going in. If they can score in 3 plays, they're good. If they don't, it's the other team's trying to try 25 yards out and score. Or kick a field goal.
Full play. I mean, you still got full field. You start at your own.
No, they start on the other side 25. Yeah. Do the kickoff.
But if you score a touchdown, give the other team a chance. And now it goes back down to who has the best offense at the end of the day.
Yeah,
because
but
if you have a crazy...
It still would wind up being who's got the better defense. Because if both defenses suck, then you're going to go back and forth 100 times. When do you cut it off on when do you cut it off on who scores first wins? Hockey, who scores first wins.
So I was speaking with my brother about this, and I have an idea that I think fans would like, but it comes down to a player that you wouldn't really pick. You bring it down to the kickers.
Oh, you're going to make them kick field goals? Do you want to have them have pressure or not pressure? Are you just seeing how far these guys can whale them? Because if you're seeing how far these guys can whale them, there are some kickers, if they have no pressure, they can hit 70 yards.
Isn't that exciting to watch?
No, I do not want to watch a kicker deciding a game. He is one player. That's when you start making one player is more important than the rest.
So, kind of jumping around here, so you dislike the penalty kicks in soccer.
No, well, see, I would rather them play another how they do it. Penalty kicks, it's kind of weird because you have 5 and 5. You have 5 guys that usually kick a penalty kick, right? At the end, if you guys are doing kicks to see who wins, it's sort of like what hockey does during the regular season. They if you can't win in overtime, they have a shootout. And that's kind of cool, but that all comes down to individual stuff. And hockey and soccer are more of an individual sport than football is.
So what could be done to make it more entertaining? The Bills got out and not.
And they had one of the best defenses in the league, and they didn't stop them.
So they lost that one drive, they stopped the next.
But it wouldn't make it. But how many do you gotta go? But see, that's how football is. How many you gotta go till you decide a winner? If you go, okay, the football games are long enough. They're already like 3 hours. Yeah, and how many people have been getting on baseball about trying to figure out a way to get it go a little bit quicker? You guys, seriously. Sometimes that you sit around and you're like, okay, I've watched an entire game. It's 0-0. I don't want to watch this anymore. I want to see something.
As an Oakland fan, I'm used to losing, being blown apart, but also being disappointed with the play.
Oh,
I think this is because pretty much every game this season for Oakland came down to play the game overtime. I think Oakland had more overtime than the team.
you mean Las Vegas?
Yeah. Yes.
Because they are no longer Oakland.
No, I know. Man.
Yep.
But they were in the playoffs, not the playoffs, but the regular season, everything came down to that last play. So, as a fan, I'm sitting on my hands, pretty much numb, watching the point toss.
Yep.
If they lost it, they're done.
Well, isn't that great? So you wind up, but why would you have to make it fair? So any of the other teams that you were playing, they would argue against you at those games because guess what? Their team got the ball first. So you wouldn't be making this argument if, say, all the games they had in overtime, they got the ball first. Well, you wouldn't have an argument because you would have gotten the ball first 100% of the time. So it winds up becoming, what fan are you? Like, that's more of like the fan in you. Like, you want to have your team have a chance to win. Yes. And that's awesome. But that's when it falls down to your defense is supposed to stop people.
Would you rather see a 48-41 game or a 3-0 game? As a fan.
Neither. Like, because 0-3, there's really nothing going on. One team has kicked the field goal. That means no team has gone down the field far enough to do anything but a field goal. And
Two best defenses in the league.
you pretty much you'd have the two best defenses in the league. It would just be a rock'em sock'em, but I don't think it would wind up being 3-0. I think if they were the two best defenses in the league, you'd have one sort of defensive score. Because if you were doing that, you would wind up destroying, like, the teams would wind up, like, 3-0 is really hard to, like, manifest all game. Like, I've seen...
Good teams.
For the good teams.
Well, two bad teams that they didn't have an offense.
Yeah.
But you're saying, obviously, you'd rather see a close-knit.
I like close-knit games where it's kind of like a little bit of a back and forth where it's not just like, all right, we have no defense on either side of this ball, so we are just literally chucking and throwing, and you just see them go down the field, down the field, down the field, down the field. It's almost like, are we playing practice? Are we just seeing who has the ball last? Because that's when that comes down to. Because whoever has the ball last wins.
Yeah, a lot of games this year, and I kind of want to look up that statistics. How many games were won on the last play of the game this year? Because it's quite a lot. I know there was a lot of field goals in the minutes. I know the Raiders had a couple of them. Obviously, the Steelers had a couple of them. And it's exciting. It really is. And we all hope that the Super Bowl is like that, regardless of the game, because nobody wants to see a blowout.
No, that's not what I want. Try that again. Many games were won in the NFL, I thought, on the last minute. This year. Helps if you put this year, Dave.
And again, I'm sure there's some listeners out there that know this right off the top of their head.
Oh, yeah, but for NFL teams are scoring on 2-minute drives like never before. So.
And while you're looking that up. I'm actually thinking, no. We see Tom Brady being the best that he is, even though I do think neither of us are Patriots fans, neither of us are Bucks fans, neither of us are Brady fans. But you have to give the guy credit.
Oh, yeah.
He is one of the best of all time, especially in the era. He was known for the 2-minute drill. Rodgers was known for his 2-minute drill. There's very few QBs that they get the ball with a minute and a half left, and you're like, all right, chances are they're going to.
Okay, well, I have in the first 5 weeks were decided by a game. 19 games in the first 5 weeks were decided by a game-winning score in the final minute or overtime. The most to that point in a season. 4 more arrived in week 6. So by week 6, there were 25 games that were decided on the last drive.
Isn't that an amazing thought that...
Oh, God.
The other way, one game isn't... Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It would definitely be crazy. But again, the odds of it happening like that often is kind of crazy.
All I know is that we got 1 week left before the Super Bowl.
Oh, yeah. It'll be fun to watch. We're going to try to watch football, and we might wind up having to to play D&D at the same time, and then I won't be paying attention again. Did you see that video? Like, I was just like, "Ah!"
Yeah, I'm watching it. Yeah, I knew what was happening. This is why I'm watching it right now. It's fantastic. Too bad that it
wound up like, boo.
Yeah. But it's funny. Honestly,
oh, yeah.
Like, you can actually go sit and watch a game and watch the band without being upset.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's the greatest thing about watching Super Bowls, that your team isn't in, or nobody you know team is in it, and you're like, yes, I don't really care, but it's gonna be fun. There's gonna be lots of great commercials.
Yeah, well, let's hope. They've been pretty sad the last couple of years, but
yeah.
And so I think, I mean, that's going to be a fun one. I know that we'll definitely talk about the Super Bowl. We'll definitely talk about the Olympics.
Oh yeah, well, we still got hockey going on too right now, and well, the playoffs are coming up. What's happening around in Boston? Because I know, have you seen like that turmoil that they're in right now? Boston's like so crazy with their goalies. Just let Tuukka Rask retire. Just retire, Tuukka. I like you. You're a great goalie. I appreciate the fact that you were trying to come back, but please retire.
But we got the playoffs coming up. We also have March Madness coming up. So we've got a lot to talk about.
Oh yeah, well, like we've got lots and lots to talk about. There's more to talk about in sports, and there's always something going on. There's always a sport, some kind of sport, and I like them all. So we're gonna touch base. There's racing, because you figure NASCAR is starting up and everything. So NASCAR will be starting. Golf is starting. I know golf probably already started. I can watch that, which is really sad. Really sad. I can sit there and watch a match of golf.
It's relaxing, to be honest with you. Same with tennis. So again, we got a lot to talk about. Lots to look forward to coming up. In my opinion, January through June is some of the best in sports.
Oh yeah. Well, baseball season hopefully will start this year. We don't know about the lockout yet.
Yeah, well, we'll find out that soon enough, and I'm sure if that does, we'll be talking about that. So.
Oh yeah. But all right, we'll leave it at that then.
Exactly, but let's hear the thoughts. I kind of want to know what people think about who's going to win next week.
Oh yeah.
I have an opinion right now. I think the Rams have next. I do.
I kind of want to root for Cincinnati just to see them win. because they haven't won one yet. They lost every time they've been. And they're not seeing the team they usually see. So I want to see them win. I can't root for the Rams. I'm sorry. They are in the same division as me. It'd be like asking a Patriots fan to root for Miami. Not gonna happen. Or a Giants fan asking a Cowboys fan. But yeah, that was our sports thought for the week and everything else. But we'll catch you guys all later. Paces.